I had been married to Amanda for 10 wonderful years. We were the perfect couple, at least that is what everyone said. Then everything changed the day she won $9 million from a lottery ticket I bought. At first we celebrated planning our future together. Within weeks her attitude shifted completely. She bought expensive things, stayed out late, and grew distant. Then came the devastating blow. She filed for divorce and kicked me out of our home without warning. I was broken, lost everything. But Amanda forgot one crucial detail: the prenuptial agreement her wealthy parents had forced me to sign before our marriage. If you are watching this right now, drop a like and subscribe to find out how Amanda learned that karma comes back around in the most unexpected ways. For most of my adult life, I considered myself an average American guy. At 28, I was working as a software engineer at a growing tech company in Seattle. My salary was good, not amazing, but enough to live comfortably in the expensive city. I had a small circle of close friends, a decent apartment, and a relatively quiet life. That all changed the day I met Amanda. It happened at a local coffee shop downtown. I was working on my laptop when someone bumped into my table, spilling coffee all over my keyboard. Looking up in frustration, I found myself staring into the most apologetic blue eyes I had ever seen. "I am so sorry," she gasped, frantically grabbing napkins. "I will pay for any damages." I was not watching where I was going. Amanda was stunning. Tall, with honey blonde hair and impeccable style, she stood out even in trendy Seattle. She was a 26-year-old fashion model working with local boutiques and small brands. After cleaning up the mess together and discovering my laptop had survived, she insisted on buying me another coffee. One coffee turned into dinner that night, and suddenly I was dating the most beautiful woman I had ever met. Our worlds could not have been more different. While I grew up in a middle-class family in Portland with parents who were both teachers, Amanda came from old money. Her father, Harold, was an investment banking executive, and her mother, Sophia, owned a chain of luxury spas across the Pacific Northwest. They lived in a waterfront mansion, traveled internationally every month, and moved in circles I had only read about. Despite our differences, the first 6 months of dating were magical. I took her hiking in places I had explored since childhood, taught her how to cook my grandmother's pasta recipes, and introduced her to indie music festivals. She opened up my world too, taking me to gallery openings, introducing me to her sophisticated friends, and showing me a lifestyle I never thought I would experience. On our first beach vacation to a small coastal town, we stayed up all night talking about our dreams on the sand, and I knew I was falling deeply in love. Meeting her family was the first real challenge we faced. Harold and Sophia invited us for dinner at their sprawling waterfront estate, and from the moment I stepped through their ornate front door, I felt out of place. The dining room alone was bigger than my entire apartment, with artwork that probably cost more than my annual salary. Harold barely looked up from his phone during the first 20 minutes. When he finally acknowledged my presence, his first question was about my investment portfolio. When I explained I was still building my savings and focusing on my career growth, his disapproval was palpable. "So what exactly are your intentions with my daughter?" Harold asked bluntly over the second course. "Amanda has been raised with certain expectations about her future." Sophia was more polite but equally cold, asking pointed questions about my family background and subtly highlighting the differences between Amanda and me. Throughout dinner, I could see Amanda becoming increasingly uncomfortable, torn between defending me and pleasing her parents. "Jay is talented and ambitious," she told them, squeezing my hand under the table. "His company is growing, and he has a bright future." The drive home was quiet. For the first time, I seriously considered whether our relationship could survive such different backgrounds and expectations. I almost suggested we break up, feeling I would never be good enough for her world. But when I looked at Amanda, I saw tears in her eyes. "I am so sorry about them," she whispered. "They will come around. They just do not understand that money is not everything." Those words convinced me to stay and fight for our relationship. 3 months later, after saving 3 months of salary, I bought a diamond ring that maxed out my credit card. I proposed at the restaurant where we had our first date, getting down on one knee as other diners applauded. When Amanda said yes, her eyes shining with tears, I believed we had overcome the biggest obstacle in our relationship. I was wrong. 1 week after our engagement, Harold called me to his office downtown. I thought perhaps he wanted to congratulate me privately or offer some gesture of acceptance. Instead, he slid a document across his immaculate desk. "This is a prenuptial agreement," he stated flatly. "As Amanda begins this new chapter, we need to ensure both parties are protected." I felt insulted but remained calm. "I understand your concern for your daughter, but I am not marrying Amanda for money." "Everyone says that," son Harold replied with a condescending smile. "If your intentions are pure, you should have no problem signing this. Amanda has already agreed it makes sense." I left with the document, immediately consulting a lawyer friend who specialized in family law. He pointed out several concerning clauses, particularly one stating that each party shall maintain sole ownership of all assets acquired before and during the marriage, unless explicitly purchased jointly. "This basically means no communal property," my lawyer explained. "Even things you buy during the marriage would legally belong only to whoever paid for them." I considered refusing to sign, but the thought of losing Amanda was too painful. After a heated discussion where she tearfully explained that this was just a formality to appease her parents, I reluctantly signed the document. It seemed like a small price to pay for our future together. Our wedding was extravagant, entirely funded by her parents. 200 guests, a 5-star venue overlooking the water, and a honeymoon in Bali. We returned to begin house hunting, eventually finding a beautiful home in an upscale neighborhood. I contributed 70% of the down payment from my savings, with Amanda covering the rest. Her parents gifted us expensive furniture and we settled into married life. The early years were genuinely happy. We celebrated birthdays with thoughtful gifts, took anniversary trips to new cities, and built a comfortable routine together. I continued advancing in my career, eventually becoming a senior developer with a significantly higher salary. Amanda transitioned from modeling to marketing, managing campaigns for a fashion company. We discussed having children in a few years once we were more established. Life seemed perfect, exactly as I had dreamed. Every Saturday morning I had a simple routine. I would wake up early, go for a run, then stop at the local grocery store on the way home to pick up breakfast ingredients and a single lottery ticket. It was a small tradition from my childhood, watching my father check his numbers each week, always saying, "You never know, son, today could be the day." For 8 years I continued this ritual without a single significant win. Amanda would tease me about it, calling it my dollar donation to the state. That particular Saturday seemed no different. I bought my usual quick pick ticket along with eggs and orange juice, tucking the ticket into my wallet without a second thought. Sunday morning I was scrolling through news on my phone when I decided to check the lottery results, a task I often forgot to do for weeks. As I compared the numbers to my ticket, my heart began racing. I checked again, certain I was mistaken. 5 numbers plus the Powerball. According to the website, the jackpot was $9 million. "Amanda!" I shouted, my hands shaking. "Amanda, come here." She rushed in from the bathroom, still in her robe, concern on her face. I think we just won the lottery," I stammered, showing her the ticket and my phone. She stared in silence for 10 seconds, then screamed so loudly our neighbors probably heard. We spent the morning alternating between shocked silence and manic planning, checking the numbers obsessively to make sure we were not mistaken. After confirming our win with lottery officials, we had a serious discussion about how to proceed. My job involved access to sensitive client data, and I worried about security issues if my identity became public. Additionally, we learned about tax advantages if only one person claimed the prize. "You should claim it," I suggested to Amanda. "Your face is already out there from your modeling days. Plus, we will save on taxes if only one of us reports the income." She agreed enthusiastically, and 2 weeks later, Amanda accepted a ceremonial check for $9 million, smiling for cameras while I stood quietly in the background. After taxes, we would receive approximately $6.4 million, an amount that still seemed unreal to both of us. The first subtle changes began almost immediately. Amanda created a new Instagram account, labeled Self-Made Millionaire, despite the fact that I had purchased the ticket. She began dressing differently, wearing designer clothes that cost thousands rather than the hundreds she used to spend. These were small things that I dismissed, assuming she was just enjoying our good fortune. Then bigger changes started. Without discussing it with me, Amanda quit her marketing job saying she wanted to explore opportunities. She bought a $70,000 Porsche, explaining it as a small splurge when I expressed concern about impulsive spending. She joined several social groups exclusively for new money individuals, attending lunches and parties multiple times per week. One evening I attempted to discuss financial planning, suggesting we invest most of the winnings for our future. "We need to be smart about this," I explained. $6 million can disappear faster than you think if we are not careful. Amanda rolled her eyes. "Stop worrying so much. This is our chance to actually live. Why are you being so controlling about money that I won?" That comment stung. "We won," I corrected gently. "I bought the ticket, remember, with grocery money from our joint account," she countered, "and legally the ticket is in my name now." Our first serious argument followed when Amanda spent $50,000 in a single day on designer handbags and jewelry without telling me. When I expressed concern, she accused me of jealousy and trying to prevent her from enjoying her good fortune. The word "her" rather than "our" became increasingly common in her vocabulary. Around the 3-month mark after our win, Amanda began mentioning someone named Brian Jackson repeatedly. According to her, Brian was a brilliant real estate investor who had made similar sudden wealth work for him. She would quote his advice on investments and spending, dismissing my more conservative financial approach. One night, while Amanda was showering, her phone repeatedly buzzed with notifications. Glancing over, I saw several messages from Brian that seemed unusually familiar. When I asked her about him later, she became defensive. "He is a business contact and friend," she snapped. "Are you spying on me now? Do you not trust me?" The pattern became clear over the next few weeks. Amanda would return home late smelling of unfamiliar cologne, offer vague explanations about networking events, and grow irritable when I asked for details. One night she did not come home at all, texting that she was staying at a hotel because the charity gala ran too late. The next morning, scrolling through local news, I saw photos from the gala, including one of Amanda standing very close to a tall, dark-haired man identified in the caption as real estate mogul Brian Jackson. After weeks of mounting suspicion and sleepless nights, I did something I never imagined I would do. I hired a private investigator named Mark Williams. 3 days later, Mark delivered a folder containing photos of Amanda and Brian at upscale restaurants, entering his apartment building and kissing in a hotel lobby. The evidence was undeniable. Rather than confront Amanda immediately, I waited until she told me she was going on an overnight business retreat. I tracked her phone location to the Four Seasons downtown and went there myself. Finding them together in the hotel restaurant was both vindicating and devastating. Amanda exclaimed, her face flushing. "What are you doing here?" "I think that is my question," I replied, struggling to maintain my composure as Brian stared coolly at me. "Is this your business retreat?" Amanda did not even try to deny it. "Brian understands me in ways you never have," she said quietly. "He knows how to live the life I want now." I walked out without another word, driving home in a daze of pain and betrayal. Hours later, Amanda returned, her expression a mixture of annoyance and resignation. "We need to talk," she said, sitting across from me at our kitchen table. "Things have changed. I have changed. That night I slept in the guest room, trying to process everything and determine how we might save our marriage. I still loved her despite everything, and believed we could work through this with counseling and honest communication. I was wrong. The following Thursday, I returned from work to find divorce papers sitting on our dining table. Amanda was waiting, her expression cold and determined in a way I had never seen before. "I have filed for divorce," she stated without preamble. "I think it is best if we make this quick and painless." "Amanda, we can work through this," I pleaded. 10 years of marriage deserves more than just throwing everything away. She shook her head firmly. "I have outgrown this life, Jay. You were fine for the person I was, but I need someone who fits with who I am becoming. The truth is, you will never be comfortable in the world I want to live in now." When I pointed out that we owned our home together, she laughed dismissively. "I paid off the entire mortgage last month with my money," she said. "This house belongs to me now." "I put down most of our down payment," I reminded her. 70% came from my savings before we were even married. Prove it, she challenged. Besides, the deed has both our names, but possession is 9/10 of the law. I need you to leave. The argument escalated until Amanda threatened to call the police if I did not leave voluntarily. In her final cruel blow, she looked me directly in the eyes and said, "I never loved you as much as you thought I did." It was comfortable, that is all. With those words echoing in my head, I packed essential belongings into 2 suitcases, not even certain where I would go. Amanda gave me 24 hours to collect my things, watching coldly as I gathered clothes, personal items, and a few sentimental objects, 10 years of marriage reduced to whatever I could carry. I called my closest friend Michael, who immediately offered his spare room. Moving from a spacious home in an upscale neighborhood to a small room in a downtown apartment was just the first of many humiliations. In the following days, I struggled to function, barely eating or sleeping. My work performance suffered as I could not focus on code through the fog of betrayal and loss. "You need to get a lawyer," Michael urged after finding me staring blankly at the wall one evening. "She cannot just take everything." "What is the point?" I replied listlessly. "She has $9 million. She can hire the best lawyers in the country. I cannot compete with that." 2 weeks into my exile, I saw a magazine article featuring Amanda and Brian at a gala, the caption describing her as a lottery winner and philanthropist. The photo showed her wearing a necklace I had given her for our 5th anniversary, which felt like a deliberate insult. In desperation, I tried contacting her parents, hoping they might intervene or at least talk sense into their daughter. Harold answered my call with icy politeness. "Amanda has informed us of the situation," he said stiffly. "We believe this is between the 2 of you, and we will not be getting involved." "Did she tell you she is leaving me because of the money?" I asked. "That she is having an affair?" "Marriages end, Jay. People change. Perhaps this is for the best." The call ended with Harold suggesting I move on gracefully, which felt like the final betrayal. The family that had always seen me as beneath them was now washing their hands of me entirely. At my lowest point, I considered simply giving up, signing whatever papers Amanda sent, and disappearing from her life completely. I felt utterly defeated, convinced that nothing could possibly counter the power of her newfound wealth and determination to erase our marriage. One sleepless night, I scrolled through old photos on my phone, torturing myself with images of happier times. A photo from our wedding day showed me shaking hands with Harold, both of us smiling stiffly for the camera. The memory suddenly hit me like a thunderbolt. The prenuptial agreement. The document her father had insisted upon to protect their family wealth from me, the gold digger they assumed I was. Could it possibly help me now? The next morning, I contacted my old bank where I had kept a safe deposit box during our early marriage. To my immense relief, I had stored a copy of all important documents there, including the prenuptial agreement. With trembling hands, I opened the folder and began reading. The key clause jumped out at me. Each party shall maintain sole ownership of all assets acquired before and during the marriage, unless explicitly purchased jointly. Harold had insisted on this language to protect Amanda from me, never imagining it might work in reverse. If assets acquired during the marriage remained the property of the person who acquired them, then what about our house, which I had helped purchase? What about the lottery winnings from a ticket I had bought? With renewed purpose, I contacted Rachel Morgan, one of the top divorce attorneys in Seattle. After reviewing my case, she sat back with an intrigued expression. "This is fascinating," she said, tapping the prenuptial agreement. "The lottery ticket was purchased with your money, even if Amanda claimed the prize in her name. And you contributed significantly to the house purchase, with documented premarital funds. So I have a case," I asked hopefully. "You have more than a case," Rachel replied with a slight smile. "You have their own weapon to use against them. This will not be easy, and they will fight dirty, but yes, we can absolutely challenge this." Rachel helped me prepare a formal response to the divorce filing, including the prenuptial agreement and documentation of my financial contributions to our shared assets. We also gathered evidence of Amanda admitting the ticket was purchased by me, including text messages where she had jokingly thanked me for finally making your silly lottery habit pay off. When Amanda received our counter-filing, her reaction was swift and furious. She called me screaming about betrayal and threatening to destroy me completely. Harold called next, his usual composure shattered. "You ungrateful little opportunist," he hissed. "If you pursue this, I will make sure you never work in tech again. I have connections you cannot imagine." I remained calm, directing both of them to communicate through Rachel from that point forward. Our first mediation session was tense, with Amanda and her attorney attempting to dismiss the prenuptial agreement as irrelevant or invalidly executed. Through it all, I maintained my composure, refusing to engage with emotional tactics or intimidation. The preliminary hearing went better than expected. The judge, an older woman with a reputation for fairness, agreed that the prenuptial agreement appeared valid on initial review and would be considered during proceedings. Sitting across the courtroom, I watched Amanda whisper urgently to Brian, who had accompanied her, his confident expression faltering for the first time. The full hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. During that time, Amanda attempted several tactics to pressure me into dropping my claim, including having mutual friends reach out to talk sense into me and even offering a small settlement if I would go away quietly. With Rachel's guidance, I declined all offers and avoided engaging directly with Amanda or her representatives. On the day of the hearing, I arrived at the courthouse feeling nervous but resolute. Amanda entered with Brian at her side, both dressed impeccably and projecting confidence. Her attorney presented, first arguing passionately that the prenuptial agreement had been intended to protect family assets, not lottery winnings that were clearly marital property. When Rachel rose to speak, her approach was measured and devastating in its precision. "Your Honor, the prenuptial agreement before you was not drafted by my client. It was not requested by my client. In fact, it was insisted upon by Mrs. Blake and her family, specifically to establish that each party would maintain individual ownership of their separate property both before and during the marriage. They cannot now claim this document means the opposite of what they intended, simply because circumstances have changed." The judge took only 2 days to issue her ruling. We gathered in the courtroom, tension thick in the air as she delivered her decision. "Having reviewed the evidence and the prenuptial agreement in question, I find that the agreement is valid and enforceable. The language is clear regarding separate property acquired during the marriage." She looked directly at Amanda before continuing. "Therefore, the lottery winnings claimed by Mrs. Blake shall remain her separate property." I felt a momentary pang of disappointment until she continued. "However, regarding the marital home, evidence clearly shows Mr. Blake contributed 70% of the down payment from his premarital funds. According to the terms of the same prenuptial agreement, he maintains ownership interest in that contribution, plus a proportional share of the property's appreciation. Mrs. Blake's unilateral action to pay off the mortgage does not eliminate Mr. Blake's ownership interest." She ordered Amanda to either sell the house and split the proceeds according to our original investment percentages, or buy out my interest at current market value, plus an additional sum for my share of appreciation over the years. The look on Brian's face as he processed this outcome was the first moment of satisfaction I had felt in months. Outside the courtroom, Rachel shook my hand. "This is a significant win, Jay." The prenuptial agreement worked against them in exactly the way they never imagined it could. 3 weeks later, I received a bank transfer for my share of the house value, approximately $820,000. While far less than the millions Amanda now possessed, it represented freedom and justice in a situation where I had nearly lost everything. With that money, I moved to Portland, closer to my parents and childhood friends. I invested in a small software startup focusing on educational technology, something I had always been passionate about. Gradually, through work, meditation, and reconnecting with supportive friends, I began rebuilding my sense of self and purpose. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I read in a business journal that Brian Jackson had been investigated for questionable investment practices. 2 months later, another article mentioned Amanda was no longer associated with him. She attempted to contact me several times, messages I politely acknowledged but did not pursue. My company began to grow, securing several significant contracts with school districts. I moved into a comfortable but modest home, invested wisely, and even began mentoring young software engineers. Through a professional networking event, I met Natalie, a financial advisor with a warm laugh and genuine values about money and relationships. Our connection developed slowly, built on honest communication and shared principles. One evening, a year and a half after the divorce, I unexpectedly encountered Amanda at a restaurant in Seattle while there on business. She looked tired, the designer clothes and perfect makeup, not quite concealing the unhappiness in her eyes. We exchanged brief pleasantries, and as she walked away, I realized something important. I felt nothing but compassion. The anger, betrayal, and pain had dissolved, leaving only hope that she would eventually find whatever she was searching for. The experience taught me that wealth can reveal character but cannot create it. The prenuptial agreement, designed to protect Amanda from my supposed greed, ultimately protected me from hers. I learned that losing what you thought was everything can sometimes be the doorway to finding what truly matters. Life continues to unfold in unexpected ways. My company recently secured major funding, potentially worth more than what Amanda won. The difference is that this success comes from creation and contribution rather than chance. Natalie and I now share our lives, building something authentic together based on mutual respect and genuine love. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if we had never won that lottery. Would Amanda and I still be together, living our comfortable but ordinary life? Would I have discovered her true character some other way? Perhaps everything unfolded exactly as it needed to for both of us to find our true paths. What do you think is more valuable in life? Sudden wealth or genuine relationships built on trust? Have you ever discovered someone's true character only after a major life change? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences that remind us what truly matters. Thank you for listening to my journey. And remember, sometimes the greatest loss can lead to the most meaningful gains. Your support means everything to me.